Don't waste the upcoming college football season. Know what players to watch that could impact your fantasy football leagues as early as 2025. All this and more. It's the IBT podcast coming at you.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my MPC. Earn my stripes like I fixed this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024, and this is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your destination for both some feel-good and refreshing takes on fantasy football and NFL betting. It's the dog days of summer, boys, and the school year is still quickly approaching at the very same time. We kind of have a moment to gather ourselves as the NFL calendar is about as dry as Sister Jean herself right now. So we thought we'd turn our attention to the college football landscape and the 2025 rookie class. And so this year, while you're watching the games on Saturday, maybe playing the video game, you can know who the fuck are the names you need to be paying attention to. My name is Seth Woolcock, and I'm grateful to be hosting this particular program. Tonight, I am joined by a light ranching son of a bitch who was squatting down in our nation's capital over the weekend, a man who lives in the heart of Friday Night Lights, Eric Romoff. Eric, how we doing tonight, brother?
Como están? We doing good. We sweating out here in the lab on another Tuesday night, fresh off of the road dogging it as we are in the summer months. So glad that I could fit another Tuesday in with the IBT fam.
Did you see anyone famous in Washington, D.C. this weekend?
I did. I saw a little guy named Abraham Lincoln in stone form. That was pretty dope. He was right where I expected him to be. But that's really about it. I'd say. I mean, look, Honest Abe is a hard name to top, but yeah, he was definitely the top of the list.
I remember at one point, fellas, being on the back of what is that? The Lincoln Monument. It's like 3 a.m. We just closed down a bar right down there. Absolutely shredded. And thought we were going to wake up there the next day. Couldn't find my phone when I woke up, and I was like, did I just leave this on the Lincoln Monument? Luckily, I didn't. It was in the Uber. It's all good there. Glad to have you here tonight, Eric. Also, we're joined by a Devy and Dynasty fantasy football expert, Iowa Pride, leader of the shitheads, and a man who is ass sleeper for fucking 211 straight days to please get some college fantasy football out there. Mike from South Harmon Fantasy Football. Mike, how are we doing tonight, brother?
I'd be good if Sleeper answered my fucking please. You can use that either way. Like, I'm begging them, please, but I also have a plea for them to please fucking add college fantasy football before I go insane.
Have they at least given you a like on the post or a response,
no.
a gift, anything? No?
Fantrax is the only one who has it, and they're out there liking these posts. They retweet them every now and then. Like, they're just out here straight fucking trolling Sleeper. It's amazing. Shout out to Fantrax team for that shit.
No, we do enjoy Fantrax here. We've worked with them in the past, especially on our NASCAR side. So I'm not surprised that they're the ones putting the team on their back for some college fantasy football. How are things over at the shitheads, man? Expo's coming up in about a month from now. I know you guys ran out an entire school for that. That's not even an overstatement.
We're running it back, man. The shit school will be around for year 2, baby. Year 2. The debauchery, the booze, the amazing food. Shout out to T-Rock, the guy who writes articles for us. Absolutely incredible cook too, man. He's going above and beyond this year, I think. I saw a steak on the menu. I saw some shrimp, maybe some lobster rolls. We're getting fancy as fuck over here, boy.
Yo.
Well, glad to hear that. Eric, we're going to have to tell Sven and Bo to step up their game because apparently right down the street, we might be getting one upped.
Yeah, sounds like we're gonna have a little kitchen reality show between the two camps here. We got plenty of good cooks on board, which for me is perfect, right? I'll happily root someone on and be one of the primary judges in this sort of competition.
All I'm saying is after we close down George's, I know where I'm going. I know
Let's
the
go.
house I'm stopping in. Want to welcome in the IBT family with us tonight as well. Looks like we got the ATM South Harmon boys hanging out with us. Albert, good evening, IBT. Good evening, Albert. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Fizzle Dallas saying the GOAT Mike McNutted in the building. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's going in the old memory bank for a future intro. We got Rachel saying, hey, fam. What's up, Rachel? Good to see you. Fizzle Doll is saying Sleeper has to have this guy on mute at this point. Seriously. Yeah, either that or like they've put you on some national watch list. And every time Mike makes any move on the internet, the Sleeper knows.
Not the first time I've probably been put on a watch list. This beard doesn't do me any favors sometimes.
We got Dave hanging out with us. What's up, Dave? Good to see you. And Dee Dee coming right in. I saw she was over there holding down the 19th hole with Bo and Connor before this show. So we appreciate it, Dee Dee. Thanks for stopping in tonight. We greatly appreciate it. And also helping us later tonight, we're going to do the Rave rookie reviews. Mike's going to go through 2025 rookies to watch each position. Then we're going to do a football movie draft. I'm going to be in DC this upcoming weekend, just like Eric was last weekend. This weekend for the SFB 14 live draft. I'm in the replacements division, one of the best football movies of all time. So I was like, all right, let's do a little football movie draft as well. Throw that in there. And kind of hosting that segment. It's going to be Iron City Light enthusiast, audio engineer Kyle Scott. Kyle, how are we doing today, man? How are the vibes sitting out there in Pittsburgh, my friend?
The vibes are high. As always, it's Tuesday night. Vibes couldn't be higher. It's time for the IBT podcast. I get to talk about football movies with you boys today. I'm psyched.
Fuck yeah. And I know you got like, 7 games, Pirates games you're going to this week. So I'm sure a lot of icy lights are going to be consumed by you, my friend.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be flowing like the Allegheny, like the mighty Monongahela.
Fuck yeah. I was just talking over the weekend. Like, I'm glad to be from Pennsylvania where there's like 7 rivers running through it. And everywhere you go, you get a little river scenery action. Mike, you're originally from Iowa. Do you live in Michigan now? Is that right?
Nope, still in Iowa. I'll never live in Michigan. Fuck that state. No offense.
Eat it, Michigan.
Rivers, you got lakes up there. What's going on with the water scene?
We're surrounded by the 2 biggest rivers in the continental United States, Mississippi and Missouri. Let's go.
Okay. I'm
one
glad.
on each side, man. Each side of the state. That's all we
geography get. Live on air right now.
Fucking terrible. Probably thinks it's Idaho. Like, I get that a lot. Like, you guys grow potatoes there, right? No.
No, corn? Is it corn?
Corn and pigs. And cows.
I'm glad to get that little bit of a refresher because, to be honest, I don't know much about Iowa other than I think Des Moines is there, Iowa City's there. That's really all I got.
Name 2 of them. Cities. That's it.
Homie's batting 1,000 right now.
He's 1,000.
Toronto Dave saying vibes more like VIBT. Am I right? Yeah, you're right there. We appreciate you, Dave. And Scamper saying boom, time to learn some names. I feel the same, Scamper. I feel the same. Mike's gonna put on a great show tonight. He's gonna tell us all about what we need to know for the 2025 rookie class. Just want to remind everyone too, we're about 5 weeks away from draft night out. That's our fantasy football live draft party at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio. We rent out a 2-story bar, the Brew Kettle. Some of the best food I've ever had. Got good beers as well. Got some tequilas. Got some whiskeys. Whatever you want to drink. Come out with us. Hang out. Draft with a bunch of other very knowledgeable people. So, Eric, I say knowledgeable because they are knowledgeable. But at the same time, like when drinks get flowing like this, when conversations heat up, like sometimes, as you know, like some fuckery can happen in these drafts and you see some wild picks.
Oh, 100%, right? Like there are competing forces between intellect and intent. And while there are plenty of knowledgeable people there, there's also plenty of people that are there trying to just mix it up, right? So it's a good time. Got to live life on the edge of your seat at that one. And there are definitely some wild cards flying your way on those draft boards.
Hell yeah. Well, let's go ahead. If you guys want to purchase a ticket or learn more about the event, the description episode has that in it. You can just click on that link, go over to the website, check that out. Let's go ahead though. Let's get into everything here with a little Rave rookie reviews and talk some 2025 rookie boys. All right. And if you guys are new to college football, it's a pretty dope time to start watching it, to get into it. The first year of the expanded 12-team playoff, conference realignments, and the video game coming back after 10 years. Mike, have you been looking? Do you play the video game? Are you going to play the new one? Have you played the old one? And what is your take on just like the vibe and the atmosphere of college football right now as we kind of head into a pretty unprecedented time?
I am fucking so stoked for this college football game. I can't wait. Been waiting 10 fucking years at this point. It's kind of like me tagging sleeper every single day. I've been waiting desperately. So July 13th because I'm a degen and I went ahead and just paid them whatever the fuck they want. Give me the game early as possible. Like I gotta get it. So I'm so excited. Speaking of that too, by the way, at the shit house, there will be a PS5 or Xbox One there, and there will be a NCAA football tournament. You know, loser has to go do the Oklahoma drill versus me, I think. I don't know. We'll come up with something, but we're going to do something special for it. So I'm incredibly excited for it. And I think it's a great time for college football, especially with that coming in. I remember being younger, and that's how I knew about college football, at least with like rookies coming in. Every time, even before I started playing Dynasty, you'd be like, oh, I know this guy, right? Like he was a 98 overall his senior year or whatever. That's where he progressed to. You knew everybody. It's kind of those weird facts. Like I remember Alvin Kamara being on Alabama as like the 5th or 6th string running back because everybody above him was goated. They're like, Alvin Kamara never played a Bama. Sure as fuck did, man. 1 year, never saw the field. So the game being back and bringing all that hype back, bringing all the people back into the fold and getting more excited about college football is going to send it to the moon, I think, this year. So C2C leagues, Devy leagues, whatever involves with college fantasy itself is just taking off. So that's going to be really, really fun to see that growth. And then for us Dynasty fanatics, oh man, talk about more eyes being on a sport and you having to be more ahead of the game than ever. With rookies incoming and knowing what classes are going to be out there. So it's a great time to be a college football fan, and it's a great time to actually get into it for the first time if you've just kind of been a casual or waiting in the wings.
That's really why I wanted to do the show, gentlemen, is because not only can we get some insight from Mike, but really this is the time to get invested with college football, start learning these rookies, and also just start like, hey, pick a team, man, pick a team, have fun with it. And it starts a little bit earlier in the year than NFL kind of scratches that itch in a little different way too. On Saturday, you got the MAC action midweek as well. Eric, I don't know how much you've dove into this class so far, but do you have any expectations for it? Like, where does it stack up to you rather than like prior classes? Like, how do you rank it looking at it rather than the 2023 and the 2022 class and the 2024 class?
Yeah, look, I'll just admit off the top that I feel weird trying to express any level of expertise as I share a screen with Mike McNutted right here in the middle of it. So, take anything that I have to say here with a grain of sand, or with a grain of salt. It's not going to be nearly as informed as what Mike's spitting here. But on the whole, I've got a sense of this incoming class, right? I know this is going to be one of the better running back classes that we've seen in quite a while, right? It's kind of been pretty barren out there at the position for a few years. I also know that the expectation, at least right now, is that quarterbacks are going to be kind of hard to come by, right? Like maybe not quite as bad as like the Kenny Pickett draft, but nowhere near the type of talent that we saw in this year's draft class in particular, right? So I think on the whole, it's probably a pretty kind of baseline type of class, right? Above average to good, but it's where those strengths fall and where those weaknesses fall that'll be the difference, right? Running back, this is going to be one of the most prolific classes that we've seen in recent memory, and we'll see if it doesn't just fall off a cliff in 2026.
Hell yeah. Mike, do you agree with Eric there? Is the running back kind of the standout position in this overall class, and how do you feel about it in general?
Yeah, from a dynasty perspective, I mean, everything I do now is super flex league. So for people who are one quarterbacks, this class will be fine for them. Like they will be fine. For super flex leagues, it's kind of scary right off the rip because, like Eric was alluding to, the quarterback situation is very sketchy. I mean, there's no clear-cut number one. There's not even guarantee that we get, multiple first-round quarterbacks next year. which is a real possibility. And Eric alluded to it, there's a lot of really good running backs, but we're in a time and a place in Dynasty where the running back is the most devalued it's ever been, and the NFL treats them that way. So to have the strength of your class being on the position everybody hates, not a good starting point. Not a real good starting point.
Yeah, it's definitely different than in past classes. Like 2024, it felt like we had barely any running backs. The receivers were loaded, the quarterbacks were loaded. So a little bit different of a look here in 2025. Disbanded Brotherhood coming in, same period. What's up, man? Good to see you. I don't know if there's a question from JB Bleb or if he's saying something is the best platform to find college fantasy leagues or dynasty leagues. Mike, any suggestions for him, though, if that is a question? Is there any place that you would go to looking for these types of leagues? So, like, it's a special kind of degenerate, that likes looking into the incoming freshman class.
Yeah, if you're going to play in any type of C2C or like college focused league, you have to run it on Fantrax. The way I do it is I run my college side all on Fantrax and I run the NFL on Sleeper. If you're more into like the Devy focused, probably using like MFL for your Devy drafts each year is probably the best way to go, and then just put it in Sleeper. I'm a big fan of Sleeper, even though they ignore the fuck out of me. Put it into Sleeper and just use like placeholder players, dog shit kickers, whatever the hell you want to use, and you can actually just set their league note to whatever Devy player that is, so people know it in trades and when you look at rosters. But if you're going to play any type of college fantasy with actually scoring, Fantrax pretty much your only choice at this point. And it's fine. It's a different platform than what we're used to with Sleeper. It's not as easy to use. It's a little bit more cumbersome getting around.
Sure.
But shout out to Fantrax, at least drafting on like their mobile app and stuff is 10 times better than whatever the fuck MFL's rolling out. That MFL charges you a shit ton each year for your league just to host it on their site, and they still haven't updated it from Oregon Trail 1996, I think.
I would say too, if you're looking for people who like this type of this type of league, you're looking to join these leagues, check out Twitter, check out Reddit. Also, you can go to Fantasy Football Advice Network. That's fantasyfootballadvice.com. There's a big community over there you can ask, and I'm sure some people have some. And also, Mike, I know you have a pretty big Patreon and Discord and everything like that. That I know there's a bunch of people who specifically like that type of dynasty and those types of college leagues, right?
Yeah, we're trying to get more people interested in it, and I think it's a perfect time to do it. I'll give a shout out to the OGs of the space, the people who really got me into it in the first place. Everybody over at Campus to Canton. So go check out campuscanton.com and get in their Discord. And you want to talk about college degenerates, that'll definitely help you find a starter league or something where you're not going to get your teeth kicked in right off the rip. And they're more than willing to help you out. They got a lot of great tools. They just launched their draft assistant, which I'm using profusely. Anytime I'm in a college draft now, it automatically goes in and pulls your league ID, so it'll put their rankings in there and let you know what their best available ranked player is. And
as
soon as players get drafted, boom, they come off the list, so you don't have to worry about them. There's no sorting and, oh, shit, I missed that guy. Yeah. So, yeah, it's really cool to do, and especially with college in C2C formats, right? You're playing a fantasy league on the college side, but you're also worried about NFL development and how that's the pipeline to your NFL. So they have little sliders and little tools you can use to more college fantasy focused, right? Guys in the MAC schools, which you brought up, who probably aren't going to have a real successful NFL career, even if they get drafted, to if you want to go more of the Devy focus, like the NFL type prospects, and that's kind of how you want to build up your college side. So Campus Canton, those guys are killing it over there. Great place to check out if you are a first timer, you really want to get into them.
Hell yeah. And a little bit of love for the JSN jersey there. And I know you took some pride in that jersey hanging there. He also has a Cordell Jones 2014 jersey. Eric, what's your sweetest jersey? I know you're kind of you like to get those mystery box ones. What's the coolest signed jersey you have, you would say?
Oh, man, I don't have a ton of them in my possession. One of them that I do, though, is a signed Taysom Hill jersey that we're giving away to the first or giving away or raffling off among the first 100 signups to Draft Night Out. So check out Draft Night Out in the show description if you want to get in the mix. We've got what, 2-3 more people till we're at 100? Does that sound right?
Yeah, we're like right there, but under half a dozen for sure. That's Eric though, man, giving away all his jerseys to the people. That's who he is. So we appreciate you. Mr. Scamper's got a signed Pac-Man Jones. Oh, that's cool. Hopefully it's the Bengals, but any of them would do. I think Pac-Man Jones is like vintage from the Bengals.
Yes, sir.
And Dee saying she has a Frank Gore signed one. Yeah, she just won that from the channel a couple weeks ago. I know that got delivered last week. So good on you, Eric, for getting that out to Dee. Mike, let's jump into your 2025 rookie quarterbacks to watch. And who do you think really are the QBs of note here that, hey, if these teams are on, if these gunslingers are throwing the pigskin, we need to be paying attention here this upcoming college football season?
Well, we'll start with the de facto number one in the class. I think for a lot of people, a lot of draft experts, they have him up there. It's Carson Beck out of Georgia. And he exploded onto the scene last year. I say exploded relatively because I thought he was ass before the season even started. I thought Georgia was going to be terrible. Carson Beck actually did show some things last year. He's got a nice frame to him, 6'4", 220. When you watch him, you can also see that the kid could put on some weight. Like, he really could be about 230 by the time he hits the weight room a little bit and gets into the NFL. So Carson Beck, he throws a pretty good deep ball. He's accurate. He's not super mobile, but he's mobile enough. If you kind of had to compare him to anything, he's kind of like, as a junior, he's kind of like Drake May was as a true freshman. Right?
Okay.
So he's a little bit farther behind in his development than when Drake May was, and he definitely doesn't have the scrambling ability that Drake May had shown when he was in college, but there are some tools to work with. I think it's pretty safe to say that he's going to be a first rounder. Now, the question is he going to elevate himself at Georgia up to the level where we're talking about him as a top 10?
A lot of weapons lost, too.
Yeah, is he going to elevate that team up into the point where we're like, okay, Carson Beck put the team on his back and carried him, and now he's a top 10 NFL drafted quarterback? Or is this more like the Kenny Pickett situation, which is probably my fear, where Carson Beck's the only first-round NFL quarterback, and it's somewhere in the late teens, 20s. We go, oh, shit, this quarterback class is fucking terrible. So that's the first guy to watch. The second guy to watch has a lot more hype around him, and it's because he's, related and the child of one flamboyant out there, Deion Sanders. So Shedeur Sanders, yes. But I think a lot of the shit that Shedeur gets put onto him, a lot of the hate that goes onto him is unwarranted. Shedeur can play football, and you watched him last year, especially in that Colorado State game, put that fucking team on his back and bring him back in a spectacular way. You saw him put up some ridiculous numbers to start the season.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't helped out by the surrounding cast of Colorado, especially with all the players that they had transfer out and all the new players that they had in. They just didn't gel very well. That offensive line was god-awful. They made Washington's offensive line last year look like a godsend, which is tough to do because you guys remember Sam Howell running for his fucking life.
Oh, yeah.
Shedeur was doing it twice as much. So we'll see if this year he can kind of have a little bit more certainty around him, a little bit more consistency. Another year in Colorado, things maybe settle down a little bit. I don't think he's a threat to go on and win the Heisman or anything because the team's just not going to be good enough. But he does have a lot of skills to him. NFL comps are a tough one, but for me, when I kind of watch him, he does remind me a little bit of C.J. Stroud. Now,
wow.
That not C.J. Stroud in the NFL, but C.J. Stroud in college.
Okay.
So especially those first, if you guys remember the first year C.J. Stroud started, and fucking guy didn't even make it to halftime until Twitter, the message board, social media was calling for him to be benched and fucking throw him away against Minnesota. So his first year starting was a little bit rough, kind of similar with Shedeur. Now we'll see if we can make that second year leap and start making more of those C.J. Stroud type throws.
Okay.
But the mobility, the arm strength, the ability to kind of move in the pocket when the situation isn't good for him, it's a little bit like C.J. Stroud. So don't. I'm not saying C.J. Stroud last year with the Texans, all right? Don't shoot the fucking messenger.
Yeah.
Just the kind of play style. And then lastly, this is outside the realm. There's some other guys we could talk about that would be in there, right? Quinn Ewers possibly could be in that mix. Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU is a guy you can kind of keep an eye on. I've been seeing some hype for Connor Wegman. I thought he was terrible last year, so I don't really understand that one. And Drew Allar out of Penn State has always just been a perennial disappointment.
We are, baby.
Yeah, he's kind of been a perennial disappointment so far. But hey, there's room. He's definitely got the tools. But the one I wanted to go way off the radar with is Cam Ward. So he transferred from Washington State. Now he's going to play in Miami. I know a lot of people hate Miami because Mario Cristobal, the head coach there, has been labeled the quarterback killer. Like that,
Yeah,
that is probably not a good
kind of
label to
fucking
have.
idiot sometimes too, you know.
But Cam Ward, he explored entering the NFL draft this year. Now, if he did, he probably at best a third, fourth round pick. That's kind of where he was going to be. And it was actually probably going to be a little bit later. But Cam Ward's got some tools, and he played on a not good Washington State team. He's mobile. He's athletic. He makes some throws that you go, oh my God, this guy can actually do it. But he also has a lot of bonehead fumble problems. He makes some throws where his feet aren't set, his mechanics are terrible, and it results in a bad play. So if he can clean that up with his athleticism and his just God-given talent and tools that he has, Cam Ward could be one to watch this year. Maybe if this quarterback class in the NFL is a little bit quarterback needy, if Cam Ward has a hell of a year down there in Miami, overcoming the quarterback killer Mario Cristobal, Cam Ward could be a sneaky guy who could possibly be in first-round conversation.
Okay. And this list of quarterbacks is pretty interesting, Eric, because last week we discussed two of them when we talked about Heisman odds. Carson Beck, obviously the favorite, right around plus 750, as we touched on last week. Lost some weapons there, but still has some good talent there. That they got in a couple number one wide receivers from other programs as well. And then Shedeur, they're in the Big 12 this year. It's going to be different. They're not beating up on, all the Pac-12 little brothers anymore. They're going to have some real competition there starting off in linking in week 2. So going to be some bangers. Your thoughts on these guys from a dynasty perspective? Do you like the upside, or are you kind of afraid of the floor, like Mike kind of alluded to, that, hey, this could be Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett 2.0?
Yeah, I think it's definitely closer to that side of the spectrum than anything else, right? But the thing with both these, two top players in this year's in this upcoming class, Sanders and Beck, is that one of the biggest knocks for each of them is just whether or not they can show an ability to take a step forward, an ability to deliver at a high level for another season, right? So I do think they have the opportunity at hand, right? If Shedeur is able to go into the Big 12 and maybe just get a little bit of offensive line help, he can very much so solidify his case. Like Mike was saying, if Beck beefs up, if he just puts up another season of performance akin to what he did last year, I think there's going to be a point where a couple of teams, like, I don't know, the Raiders, who let the time expire and just auto drafted their tight end this year, are looking for a quarterback. Yeah, they either of these guys could find their way into the first round, but I mean, a lot of things have to go right in order for that to happen. And I want to mention, as you break out my Shedeur Sanders Heisman Trophy bet from last week, this was also in the context of 35-1, which I think is very good context, right? Like,
yes.
We're talking about long shots. We're talking about a team that's going to have national prominence if they luck box their way into being part of the conversation late in the season. I think it can happen.
Yeah, I took a 10-1 nibble on him last year. So like, there's a point that at some time during the season that goes down. You could even cash that out. Gun to the head, Mike. Who's your Heisman favorite? Do you like Carson Beck plus 750? That's one of the few futures I laid out there early in the season.
Hit him with
gun to the head. I think I'd go off the map. Jalen Milroe would be my Heisman favorite.
Oh, okay. Our guy Will last week on him. He threw him out for 12-1. So yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
He's another guy to watch. And I have seen some people hype him up too, but Jalen Milroe would probably be my off the radar, because he does everything mobility wise that you want from a quarterback. He's got all the physical tools. He can make some throws, and now you transpose this Kalen DeBoer offense into Alabama with the weapons and the talent that Alabama has been able to recruit. I know they lost some people, but one of the big sticking points is their all-world left tackle, Caden Proctor, decided to transfer from Alabama to Iowa, take our NIL money, and then transfer right back to Alabama and pull us the fuck off. So fuck you, Caden, forever. I hate you.
Mike, I have to ask you this. if you're on the clock 101 today for a 2025 rookie draft, is Beck the 101? Generally in a super flex rookie draft, you are going to go quarterback, but we do have so many awesome running back prospects and some really good wide receiver prospects we'll get into as well. Is Beck the clear 101, or is it really a toss-up at this point?
It's definitely more of a toss-up, and I'm the guy who probably pushes quarterback value and takes your quarterbacks, especially first round NFL drafted guys, more than anybody. I would tell you I'd probably only take Carson Beck if I had 100 drafts, maybe 5 times.
Okay.
101.
Okay.
There are a few other players I'd much rather feel safer about making that decision on now. That's how shaky this kind of quarterback situation is going into 2025.
Put differently, if you're quarterback needy right now, try to go out and get one of the rookies from this year. Try to go out and get one of the underpriced guys, Kyler Murray, or if someone is for whatever reason fed up with Justin Herbert. Like, now is the time to address that issue, not in next year's class.
Great point. Because I'll be honest, there are a couple drafts that I kept trading back. I kind of traded away from quarterbacks. Definitely didn't have like a high need for a quarterback, but I was able to get a couple 2025 first round picks and was like, okay, maybe I can get a Shador or a Beck next year. And now you're not making me feel that great about that decision, boys. But you never know what happens. So love the breakdown there from Mike. Let's talk about his 2025 rookie running backs to watch. Really down year at the position. We saw a lot of teams just saying, hey, miss me on running back here in 2024, spending any real draft capital. I'll wait until 2025. Mike, this might be one of the most loaded groups of running backs we've seen in years. Is the hype real, my friend?
I think the hype is real, and it's so weird that a lot of these guys are playing on the same fucking team. I don't know if we've ever seen this before. I mean, you as a Penn State fan, I didn't even put Kaytron Allen on this list, but he deserves some recognition about how good Kaytron Allen actually is too. So like Kaytron Allen, Nick Singleton playing on the same team, Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson now being on the same team. It's like, this is the weirdest shit ever. It reminds me a lot of my young childhoods, before the beard. Back when you had like Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown on the same team competing for Heisman.
White, Reggie Bush.
Right? Yeah. You had all these dynamic duos, and now we kind of get it all over again. Maybe the college football is cyclical, kind of like the NFL seems to be. Maybe we're going back in the day. I think this one really starts, though. This class starts with Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. So I'll put them 1A, 1B. I don't give a shit who the hell you really like out of both of them. I think they deserve both of them to be in that conversation. And they both complement each other really well. They're both built very similarly, but Travion definitely is the more bursty kind of guy, the more pass-catching prowess kind of running back, where Quinshon is more of that make you miss in space kind of thing, the little bit more physical, definitely a little bit more of a hammer. He has some questions about his long speed, but I think back to his freshman year, he looked just fine when he was running away from SEC defenses, so I think he'd be fine in the NFL. We overblown that a little bit too much. Travion is just a flat-out speed merchant and a baller. Like, that guy, if he could stay healthy, there would have been no question about it. Jonathan Brooks was really good, but if Travion stayed healthy last year and had entered the NFL draft and didn't want to come back for one more season, he was the RB1 in that class, no question about it. And this is from a guy who for years has been trying to push Braylon Allen as the RB1 of 2024.
Dude,
so
I'm glad I wasn't alone in that. I
tried.
Trade. Yeah,
I tried.
I'm glad I wasn't alone there. And Travion's interesting because he's kind of been sharing that backfield already the last couple of years with Mayan Williams, who obviously not like a high pedigree guy or anything, but did battle those injuries. Now we have another great running back here in Junkins, who unseated Zach Evans as a redshirt freshman. How do you expect this to shake out, Erica, from your point of view? Do you think both these guys can coexist? Ohio State kind of expected to really be the cream of the crop in the Big Ten now that Michigan loses J.J. McCarthy, Jim Harbaugh and company. But the real tests don't begin for the Buckeyes until October 12th. They'll be in Eugene, Oregon. And then November 2nd, just a couple weeks later, Happy Valley. Hopefully we can get College Game Days ass back to University Park. But that aside, how do you think Ohio State's running back situation unfolds from a larger perspective here, Eric?
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly how they're going to deploy these two players because they are so distinctly talented. What I will say, kind of on the macro level, is I think they will find ways to get the most out of what each of these players brings to the table, right? Like, I don't think we're going to see a situation where someone is just kind of, riding the pine behind another player. I think we're going to see plenty of touches for both of them. Like you mentioned, Ohio State should be a very competitive team this upcoming year, so there should be plenty of scoring upside for each of them. And I think when they each respectively get the ball in their hand, they've got the skill set to put some pretty amazing highlights on film out there. So hard to say exactly how the split shakes out at this point, but I think there's going to be plenty to be excited about from both these players when the season's done.
And sticking with kind of that split backfield here, Mike, we were partying down on College Ave, in-state college, when Nick Singleton got committed to Penn State, and nobody could give a flying fuck about Kaytron Allen the entire time. But he actually outrushed Singleton by over 150 yards last year on about the same amount of carries. Could Kaytron actually hurt Singleton's stock around this next year?
I don't know if it'll actually be a negative. I don't think NFL teams are going to look too much at production. I think they're going to look at the talent first, and Nick Singleton's extremely talented. We saw him do it as a true freshman. I mean, he did it almost everywhere, too. I mean, how many of these true freshman running backs come in and, like, boom, we're going to put you a kick returner because you can change the fucking game for us on special teams? And Nick Singleton is that dude when it comes to it. I think it's just more of Kaytron Allen was more surprising, and we're like, wow, we didn't see this dude coming out of basically nowhere and being the 1B, the 1A, whatever it is to Nick Singleton. So I think it helps Kaytron more than it does hurt Nick. Like, I think Nick will be completely fine when it comes to NFL time, as long as he can stay healthy, which he kind of got a little bit nicked up to, which is why Kaytron kind of kicked in the door a little bit because he let him. But I think them both splitting the way Penn State runs that offense is kind of, I mean, it's like Iowa with more talent on offense, essentially, right? Like, it's just, it's uninspiring. It always feels like it's missing something. Like, you have this Adonis quarterback, throw the fucking ball down the field, but then maybe you don't have the weapons to do it on the outside. So they're going to be built through the run game, and having both those guys in the backfield is a pretty good place to start if that's going to be your identity on offense. So I think Kaytron, I'm interested to see if he can repeat it this year.
Okay.
And kind of stick neck and neck with Nicholas Singleton. But both those guys I really like. I think Kaytron's probably more underrated than Nick Singleton's overrated.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to hear, man. And Nick Singleton, I definitely love his pass catching upside from a dynasty perspective. I think when he gets into the NFL, he can really be a 3-down running back. Not that Kaytron couldn't, but we just haven't seen it really in pass protection or in the pass game as well. I want to talk about the last two running backs you have noted here. Ollie Gordon, he's the Doak Walker Award winner, over 2,000 scrimmage yards at Oklahoma State last year in Stillwater. And then Ashton Jeanty, here from Boise State. What do you like about these two running backs? How do you kind of have them projected right now from a dynasty lens?
If you're a fan of production, don't look no farther than Ollie Gordon. Just stop looking at him. I mean, a guy who went over 2,000 total yards last year. A lot of his game, too, if you watch him, ridiculously explosive in the short area. Ridiculously. Now, his long speed lacks just a little bit, I would think. But his comp is pretty easy. If you just take out the long speed, it's Kenneth Walker, but catches passes in college. That's essentially the way he moves, and the way he's so bursty through the hole is absolutely ridiculous at his size. So I'm a big fan of Ollie Gordon. I think he's probably my favorite to be the number one running back if it's not Judkins or Travion Henderson. Like, it would be him over Nick Singleton for me. Ollie Gordon is ridiculously good. The questions always be in the level of competition. The Big 12 is not known to play a lot of defense. So maybe that's where some of his stats come. But if you just ignore the stats and just watch some tape on Ollie Gordon, it's hard to not walk away just with a little bit of a chubby just going, oh my God, this guy in the NFL could be something special. So Ollie Gordon is absolutely incredible. And then another one that I like, he doesn't get much love because he plays at Boise State on the fucking blue turf, and nobody watches Boise State games. This isn't like back when they were the darling story in shocking Oklahoma.
Kellen Moore, baby.
yeah. We're long gone from those days. Boise State there for a while became like one of the most hated teams in America, especially once LeGarrette Blunt just decided to punch that dude right in the face. It's pretty amazing. But I love Ashton Jeanty just because he has that kind of reminds me a lot of DeAndre Swift when he plays. The guy who can definitely catch the football. If you want to talk about pass catching running backs, Jeanty's that dude. Explosiveness definitely is. Again, we're going to have the small school questions. But it seemed to work okay for some of these other small school guys that have come out lately, you know, the Tajay Spears of the world, right, playing at Tulane. Most people couldn't even tell you where the fuck Tulane is on a map.
Yeah, right.
They have no clue. Boise State's easy, though. Like, you know it's in Idaho. Not Iowa. Not Iowa, Seth. Idaho.
Indiana, Iowa. There's too many.
Christ.
Yeah, there's too
Illinois.
many. Yeah, too many I states back to back right there in the Midwest. They're really trying to fuck with you. Hey, I did get 50 out of 50 on my states test though, so fuck you on that one, Mike.
Let's go,
Eric. Right now, if you were still have not done your dynasty rookie draft and you need a running back, you know, let's say you're a little light there, you're still rebuilding. Are you okay with passing up on a Brooks or a Trey Benson to maybe hopefully get one of these guys like a Junkins, a Henderson, a Gordon, or one of these Penn State guys next year?
Yeah, 100%. I think there are probably 5 or 6 guys I would take ahead of anyone in this year's class, right? And a lot of it has to do with how these guys profile. So many of them, you know, like you mentioned the Kenneth Walker comp, right? Like for a few years now, it feels like there have been plenty of players where it's like, man, this guy looks great. We think he can catch the ball, but they never really asked him to catch the ball, so we can't really evaluate him on that front. This 2025 lot is very much so checking that box, right? So like the likelihood that a multitude of these guys steps into a 3-down workload very quickly and also has relatively high NFL draft capital to boost their case seems pretty high. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 3, 4, 5 guys drafted in the first 2 rounds, maybe even like the top 50 picks next year, right? So, you know, there's going to be a lot of draft capital behind these guys. Their skill sets are ones that, you know, should translate very quickly to the NFL and should potentially transition to a lot of work very, very early on in their careers. So, yeah, if I'm in the running back market, I mean, I generally always want to look to next year's class because a running back is basically dead to me once they turn like 24.
Right.
So, you know, that being the case, or rather setting that aside, the quality of this upcoming class is head and shoulders above what the 2024 class has to offer.
I really hope so, because I'm tired of sitting at the bar the last 2 years. This year, I was like, can Dylan Laub go in on day 2? Can it happen? No, he didn't. The year before, I was like, can Chase Brown go on day 2? I'm tired of sweating it out. So hopefully we can get 5 or 6 guys to just go on, you know, day 2. That would make me very happy. Let's look at Mike's rookie wide receivers to watch for 2025 here. And Mike, my question, it's a loaded one, but is the upside there for this class the past 2 years we've seen? It seems like every year we're getting at least one alpha that's coming out of the class. We have some big names here, but are they that high of upside, like a Marvin Harrison Jr., like a Garrett Wilson, like a Jamar Chase? Is there anyone in that echelon?
There's a couple that could be there. Now, you have to remember, all those guys, we think about them now, but they had 3 years to show it. A lot of these guys are only going to be playing their 3rd year this upcoming year. Yeah. So this is the year to break out and put their names on the map. And I think a lot of them have already done stuff already that gets you excited. And you can see that next little step that they have to make to be in that territory. The way it stands right now with these guys, I would say if they were thrown into a pool with all of the guys that we had from 2024, which was absolutely incredible, especially the top 3, right? Marv, Neighbors, Adunze. They all slot in right after Adunze and before Brian Thomas and Xavier Worthy. And there's probably 4 guys I would put in that territory where you could draft these guys, and I would be very confident taking them and just waiting a year to find out. I'll start with Luther Burden, probably the de facto number 1 for a lot of people. He goes first in almost all these college drafts that you do. Luther Burden, He got some younger comps, especially to Deebo Samuel, which we seem to fucking do every year. He's not the same kind of player, though he does show some rushing versatility.
Wait, what if they use him like Deebo Samuel?
Yeah. He'd probably die. He's not thick enough.
He's not like that.
He's not thick enough. They used him in his freshman year kind of as this like rushing threat, this pop pass kind of guy. They couldn't really figure out how to use his skill set downfield. And then you saw this last year, the switch got flipped, and Luther Burden just came out and produced like an absolute fucking monster. Brady Cook was throwing him the rock all over the place. He's lighting up SEC defenses, SEC talent, where you just watched a bunch of SEC corners go very high in the draft. Luther Burden is probably the safest and most exciting one, and if I had to put him in right now, he's more like a Malik Neighbors than he is a Deebo Samuel, which if he takes that next step in his junior year, his true junior year, we could be talking about him in the same breath as a Garrett Wilson, as a Malik Neighbors like level of prospects. So I'd be pretty excited to get some Luther Burden if I was you guys. Just pencil that one in. Another guy to watch, Tet McMillan, monster out of Arizona. I mean, talk about the return of the alpha wide receiver. You know, back in the day, those Calvin Johnson types.
Yeah.
This is like Mike Evans reincarnated, essentially, playing down in Arizona. 6'5", just beast. If you like big, fast, tall wide receivers who make ridiculous highlight catches time and time again, Tet McMillan's your guy. Your guy. I love him. Kind of got a little bit of Drake London in his game. Without the quarterback problems so far in college. He's been fine. QB play in college, much different level that you have to get to than what Drake's have to suffer with through his first couple of years. Emeka Egbuka, I'll go to my grave saying if Egbuka would have come out, he would have been probably in the conversation for the third, if not, fourth, if not third wide receiver off the board. He was in that Rome neighbors kind of level. He got overshadowed a lot because, Marvin Harrison played there. Yeah. And it wasn't a superstar year from Egbuka. But if you look back 2 years, this guy absolutely lit it up. Now Marv is out of the question. In steps a better quarterback than Kyle McCord and Will Howard at Ohio State. He's a little bit different. Kyle McCord is fucking terrible. He was, no offense if you're Kyle McCord and you're watching the show, but you were god awful. So enjoy Syracuse, buddy. It's kind of like Adam Silver telling better learn Chinese.
Yeah, it's cold up there.
Enjoy that basketball school. You have fun up there playing your dome. But Kyle McCord was absolutely terrible. So I'm interested to see with Will Howard, who I don't think is the greatest quarterback, but he's definitely an upgrade, how Egbuka does now with no Marvin Harrison. I do feel a little bad for him, too, because the Jeremiah Smith, so this is for all you 2027 Dynasty classes, if you want to look out. Jeremiah Smith is like stepping in with the most hype I think I've ever seen for a wide receiver in my life. Like, write it down, Seth. Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State.
My dude's setting a timer for 2026.
I would too. This guy is getting comped to Julio Jones right off the rip.
Holy shit!
And if I'm Emeka Egbuka, I'm like, I just fucking got rid of Marv.
Right.
This fucking freshman's coming in. This is bullshit. I hate this place, but Egbuka is really good. And then Evan Stewart. Some people don't like him. I do think he needs to add a little bit more meat. He kind of has that Troy Franklin build to him, which is weird because he's going to Oregon to replace Troy Franklin.
Yeah.
His big problem, he hasn't been able to stay healthy, which could be due to his frame. But when he's been out there, he showed really, really good flashes, like elite flashes. His route running is absolutely spectacular. His body control is phenomenal. He's going to go to Oregon, who made Troy Franklin really relevant, even though the NFL said, fuck off, we don't like you. But Evan Stewart is a much better wide receiver heading into Oregon than Troy Franklin ever was when he left. It'll be interesting to see what he does. If he decides maybe I'm going to come back for another year, maybe he might be a 4-year guy. But I think if Evan Stewart puts it all together, adds a little meat to his frame, and can stay healthy, in Oregon, he's going to absolutely thrive and be on everybody's radar. And then lastly, I got to throw you in one. I didn't put it on the show sheet.
Yeah.
But his teammate, Tez Johnson. Oh, my God. I love me some Tez Johnson. So last year, you got to experience the fact that him and Bo Nix, I think they're half brothers. They're half brothers or whatever. Fucking adopted. I don't know. Either way, they had a relation there. All right. There was more than just were teammates. Tez Johnson is one of those like Curtis Samuel types, where that just get him the fucking football and get out of the way. Like, Tez Johnson should be playing running back for him. Instead, he's out there playing wide receiver, just making stupid plays all over the field. So kind of that little dark horse guy to throw in there, kind of like I threw in Cam Ward. Watch out for Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart's teammate up in Oregon. Could be exciting up there. Their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel. Not a real NFL talent kind of guy. More that scrappy Bailey Zappi type, right?
He's riding out to college, man. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, he's just right out to college. He's going to stay as long as he possibly can, just get all that NIL money. But he can sling the football all over and in that offense. Tez Johnson and Evan Stewart should put up some ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, Oregon going to be tested pretty early now, coming over to the Big Ten. Ohio State, they're going to be playing at home on October 12th, and then they go into Ann Arbor on November 2nd. Eric, I want to ask you about Ibuka. He's going to be 22 by October. Does him returning hurt him at all, you think, just because he is going to be a year older and we're ageist as fuck in Dynasty? Or are you just completely okay with it because this might be the time that he does get to shine, better quarterback play? Hopefully we aren't seeing the young freshman emerge quite yet, and he can be the de facto number one.
Yeah, I think the decision to stay for another year is going to play to his benefit, right? Like, yes, in Dynasty land, we are ageist of the skill positions. The wide receiver is typically the one that we give the most runway to, right? So, being drafted as a 22, 23-year-old isn't necessarily the death sentence that it would be if you were a running back, for example. And to Mike's point, I think we're going to see, to say that we're going to see him show out in a new kind of way probably isn't fair, because the kid's been putting some amazing film out there for his Ohio State career. It's just routinely overshadowed by these like generational prospects that are running on the opposite side of the field of him, right? So I think there'll be a little bit less noise for him to kind of get lost in. But ultimately, like, this is a guy that, like, if the ball is near him, he is going to catch it. I think he would have probably been the 5th wide receiver off the board this year, maybe 4th. You can kind of nitpick at his upside, but sort of like a lower ceiling kind of Chris Olave type is how I have him profiling. So there are plenty of NFL teams that would be happy with a player like that. So I think he'll get the draft capital, and in turn that goes a long way to inform the dynasty draft capital as well.
Mike, the one thing interesting I find about your receivers here, specifically at the top of the board with Burden and McMillan, is they're from kind of like non-traditional schools that don't produce a ton of high upside players. Missouri for Burden, Arizona for Tet. Brady Cook's the quarterback at Missouri. I think he's a solid quarterback, 35-1 odds to win the Heisman. And then Noah Fafita, who's getting a little bit of buzz out there in Arizona, 40-1 to win the Heisman. How do these quarterbacks shake out? And do you think they can be a benefit or a detriment to their upside here coming to the NFL?
Fafita's got a little bit of NFL potential to him. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say in a couple of years he's getting drafted for sure.
Yeah.
With significant draft capital. But he's got a lot of tools to him, which makes him an interesting upside play, especially if you're playing in a C2C league. That's a guy I actually just drafted not too long ago before we got on the show. So,
nice.
Fiznos, we got some Fafita exposure on our co-managed C2C team. Brady Cook, probably more of just like every Cook that's played quarterback and that's come into the league. Connor Cook, just name a Cook. Yeah, just name a Cook. That kind of like, okay, ho-hum, you did your fucking job and just got the ball to your best playmakers, and you're probably not going to do anything in the NFL. That's more like him. But he's doing it in the SEC in a wide open offense that features Luther Burden. So really, that's all I give a shit about. Can you get Luther Burden the football? And he showed last year he sure as fuck can. Fafita knows where his bread is buttered too. I mean, he did make Jacob Cowing relevant, and that was kind of my like sleeper dark horse guy.
Okay.
Senior Bowl and the workouts didn't do Jacob Cowing any favors. Also, the tape measure definitely lied. We knew he was small, but Jesus Christ, like the guy lost 2 inches for his listed height. Like it's every little
that happens.
It's every little man syndrome, If you're 5'9", you're basically 6'1", right? Like,
yep.
Come on, just round up that far. That was Jacob Cowing, but he supported both of those guys just fine last year. So this year with no Jacob Cowing, fuck, Tet McMillan could absolutely just blow the roof off of college production. And at that size, he's going to be a walking highlight reel. So get your SportsCenter top 10 plays out, even though nobody watches Arizona football.
I mean, there's no such thing as a 50-50 ball with him, right? So
no, it's 95-5.
Just like, throw it as hard as you can, and he'll come down with it far more often than not, right? So I think even if the quarterback plays mediocre, we should still see plenty of highlights from Tet.
let's get to the tight ends here, Mike. And we've been absolutely spoiled the last couple of seasons here with these draft classes of tight ends. Specifically this last year, we have Brock Bowers, generational prospect we're hearing. And then the year before, we just get a bunch of guys who, from Kincaid, from Laporta, are just sensational. Do we have that in 2025 here?
I think you do. And nobody's acknowledging it, which is fantastic for me. So I'll start with my number 2 tight end, and it's not close for him being number 2, right? There's some guys after him that are interesting, but he's in the number 2 spot all by himself, just in an ocean. And it's Colston Loveland out of Michigan. So I know Michigan, I said I hate you and I'll never fucking live there, but I love your tight end. Colston Loveland is an absolute fucking monster. People knock him because Michigan plays this run first style offense, and he's a good blocker. But he's also shown enough in the passing game, athletically, route running, his ability to high point the football, where Colston Loveland being an asset in the blocking game is not a bad fucking thing. Teams don't have to think about, man, I got to play this guy as like a fucking Mike Gesicki in the big slot role, and then what's that mean for this package? He'll be on the fucking field all the time. He will be on the field all the time. And Colston Loveland definitely showed out last year in the limited opportunities he got, because that offense isn't going to be like fucking Texas State where they're just putting up fucking points on everybody. Right. Okay. It's going to be a defensive run first type football team. I don't think that's changing, especially with J.J. McCarthy leaving, the best quarterback in Michigan history. No
Alex
offense, Tom
Orji,
Brady.
Is that the new quarterback, right? Alex Orji?
Possibly, but that guy is such a running quarterback, we don't even know if he's going to start.
Okay.
So it's still not even determined whether that's going to be the guy.
No orgy in Michigan right now is what I'm
Maybe.
hearing.
We'll pause on the orgy until we know more, all right? Okay. Don't show up for the gangbang just yet. But yeah, Colston Loveland, I really like him. And then the number 1 tight end, Luke Lachey out of Iowa. Call me a homer all you want, but Luke Lachey does have this, and I'm not afraid to make this count, Mark Andrews in him. He has that Mark Andrews in him. And I'm willing to say that from what I've seen from Luke Lachey through his entire time at Iowa, Luke Lachey might be the best tight end that Iowa's ever put out, and that's going to include last year's Sam Laporta. What? And we've had some good ones. T.J. Hawkinson, Noah Fant, Sammy Ballgame, George Kittle, Dallas Clark, Tony Moyaki, shout out to him. You remember the run he had? Brandon Meyer, Scott Chandler. Luke Lachey might be that fucking dude. I know Eric All got a little bit of hype after Luke Lachey went down, but what people forget is in them first 2 games that Luke Lachey was able to play before he got bullshitted into that hip drop tackle and snapped his fucking ankle. Oh. That's what happened to him. So I saw people raise concerns about his durability. What the fuck do you want him to do? Really? You want to get metal ankles? Then they won't snap? Is that what you want? He has no durability fucking concerns whatsoever. We'll see how he rebounds, right? The Tony Pollard thing from last year does give you a little bit pause because we saw that injury and how long it took Tony Pollard to kind of start to get going. But Luke Lachey is everything you want, man. Mark Andrews, he's like Mark Andrews reincarnated. He blocks better than Mark Andrews does, and he still has to work on a little bit of route refinement, but 6'5", 250, 260 by the time he comes out. He blocks his ass off. He runs routes at a very good enough level for a guy that size. Most guys end up like Luke Musgrave, where they're just big and they don't know how to run routes and they have no technique and they just win on their pure physical dominance. That's not Luke Lachey, because that offense requires him to run routes and get open and get separation, because there's nobody else to throw the fucking football to, and the entire defense knows. We just focus on 85 and take them away. And they still can't. They still can't. He still gets funneled 9 targets and catches 7 of them for 60, 70 yards. Scores our only touchdown on the game. Woo! Luke Lachey, baby. Look out for him in 2025. So if I actually had to do it right in Dynasty, Brock Bowers is all the rage. Brock Bowers is the guy that everybody wants and got all the hype. If you could tell me I could guarantee the pick that I would get me Luke Lachey, and I could add something on it, I would down tier off Brock Bowers immediately, just to know that I will get Luke Lachey on my team in the following year. So if you're in some sort of Devy league, make that shit happen. Make that shit go get a future first, second first, whatever the fuck you can get as add-on, and get you some Luke Lachey on your Dynasty rosters, because I think he's going to be better than Brock Bowers will be in the NFL.
And no Ferentz, right, at offensive coordinator this year. So maybe
Thank
Iowa has a little bit of a resurgence here. Like, obviously they're not going to be lighting up the fucking scoreboard, but maybe a little boost for him, in the entire offense there.
14 points is about 10 more than we normally score.
Yeah. Eric, and the one thing I'm kind of hearing too is like if I have a veteran tight end like a Kelsey or a Kittle and I'm not winning by mid-season, hey, ship them out of there and try to get some picks and because if you get a guy like Lachey, like a Loveland, you might be okay at that position and you get a lot younger in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like the key to that strategy being if you're not competitive, right? Like somebody else is, and just the nature of the tight end position, they're probably short at tight end, right? So you can capitalize on the productivity of the golden years of those guys and reload for what sounds to be a pretty impressive, albeit top end of the 2025 tight end class.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. Well, Mike, we appreciate all your insight breaking this down for us, man. Very much looking forward to the 2025 rookie class and all they can do for us here during the college football season. We're going to go ahead. We're going to round out the show with a little bit of a football movie draft here. So we're going to bring Kyle in for that as well and get that loaded up here. Mike, have you seen a lot of football movies? Are you well versed in football cinema, would you say?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. I love football movies to death. I was looking at, you guys were kind enough to put some rankings in there, some offsite ones. And it's kind of like sometimes when I found the fantasy football counselors football rankings for the first time, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Did you just close your eyes and blindly pick these? Like who they have in the number one spots? I'm like, this is the most trash list I've ever fucking seen in my life. So
I was Eric, scrolling down that list like, wait, hold on.
Eric, I will say
a fourth rounder.
I'll tell you, Eric, definitely don't use that as your fucking cheat sheet. Okay, don't use either one of those as your cheat sheet. Well, because you will lose.
You don't
hard.
want Rudy at the 101. You don't want
Fuck no.
Wow, I have some fucking.
What
respect.
is that? Just reverence? Is that what we're doing there with Rudy?
That's it.
I have some respect for Notre Dame. How about it, Kyle? I know you're a big Irish fan.
Hell yeah, Rudy's awesome. What are you talking about?
Come on,
Sean Astin, man.
Yes.
You can have him with your first pick, then, Kyle.
Take him.
All right,
you're right. I might take him at the 102.
All right, we're gonna start it out here in round one of the football movie draft. Mike, you're our guest. You're the 101, man. What is the best football movie of all time? That is basically what you're answering with this pick.
There's some good choices, but Fizzle's in the chat, and Fizzle will probably off me if I don't pick this one. Like it's a clear cut number one for us. Starting defense, place at the table. Give me the program, man. Give me Latimer. Give me Alvin Mack.
Wow.
Give me Joe Kane. Motherfuckers, we're going 101. The program. Best movie, football movie ever. Might be the best movie ever.
Wow. What year was that? That's an older one, right?
1994. If you haven't seen the program, you are fucking missing out, man. You are missing out. Trust me. If you believe me for anything, if we're any kind of friends, you will do yourself a favor and go watch the program immediately.
I think I'm gonna have to, Kyle. I haven't seen this honestly, so I'm a little bit offended at myself and my own movie knowledge. You're a film head, if I can call you that, better than a crackhead. But what do you think? What do you think here of the 101? Are you on board? And what's your pick at the 2?
Hell yeah, the program's great. That's a good pick. I mean, it's a good pick if you're not me, because my pick is. Any Given Sunday. You got Al Pacino, all right? Oliver
Snipe.
Dude, Any Given Sunday. I say that all the time, too. It's
in
my daily lexicon, and it's a fantastic movie. You can't beat it.
Wow. Going deep here in the early picks, Eric. I don't think you were expecting to get sniped like that from Jim Scott here.
No, I certainly wasn't. But having done these shows with Jim Scott for long enough, I know that he's wily. He's got a couple of curveballs in his locker, so not entirely surprised. The Al Pacino scene there, quote, is phenomenal. I was hoping to scoop it up with the 2 pick. And now I'm scrambling / filibustering as I decide where I want to go at 103.
He's tilted.
I'm gonna go for public sentiment and what I'm most confident would not be on the board for me on the way back around. I'll go Remember the Titans with the 103.
Cocksucker. Yeah, I mean, talk about a movie I think everyone needs to watch, right? Like, I don't know. I think as a kid, like, that was one that my parents turned on for me, or like, hey, sit and watch this. And I think I just learned a lot about people and human beings in that one, man. So good shout out there, man. Denzel puts on a fucking hell of a performance there. But holy shit, boys, I can't believe it. At the 104, I'm doing it. We're going down to Odessa, Texas. Give me some Friday Night Lights, baby. Yeah. One of the best all-time books. I mean, gotta love the story behind this and the guy who spent the year or so down there in Odessa. And man, I just love Friday Night Lights, everything it has to offer. Billy Bob Thornton stars in that one. So shout out to the whole Friday Night Lights cast. I think that's a steal there. And just because I don't think it's getting back to me, it might be a reach here. Give me a little Kevin Costner draft day, baby. I mean, you talk to other people in the NFL industry and they say, hey, that's a kind of a realistic look at what draft day looks and feels and smells like. So yeah, give me a little Sonny Weaver action in draft day there to start the second round. And
was the part of draft day that was most realistic where he wrote a sticky note to himself to remind himself what to do no matter what?
Oh, it was taking the linebacker number 1 overall.
Yeah, I mean, that's hyper realistic, like maybe the most accurate picture of NFL drafting. And for however much shade I want to throw on it, I was absolutely going to take it here on the way back around because I don't think it would make its way into the third round. I'm going to do a little bit of callback here to when both of you were putting all kinds of disrespect on the Adam Sandler brand of comedy. I'm going to go with the Waterboy here. Maybe not the purest of football movies, but a lark and another tip of the cap to Adam Sandler and his late 90s style comedy.
Yeah, it's okay. That's okay. I think it might be a little bit. You could have gone Jerry Maguire. Kept it with the draft theme going.
Not a football movie. It's a love story that happens to take place around football.
Oh, geez. All right. Next, you're gonna say Valentine's Day isn't a football movie either. Get out of here.
Come on,
Kyle. What do you have for us here at the 203?
All right, I'm taking something. I don't know how high this is on any of your draft boards. I'm taking Invincible.
Oh,
Mark Wahlberg.
Great
feel-good story about a man who started in the NFL, baby, the American dream. From Philly, Mark Wahlberg, great score, fantastic movie.
That's like that does have a good score, kind of slower paced a little bit, but still moves you along at a good pace there. I like Invincible. I love the walk-on story. Mike, you're up here at the end of the second round and to begin the third round. What are you doing here? No snipes from Kyle for you, huh?
Kyle got me with the 102, but like you knew that was coming.
Yeah.
You two guys have done a fabulous job of not taking anything I would have fucking touched.
Wow.
I get my third and fourth choice, essentially. This is amazing. I get both of them. I didn't think this was going to happen. All right. First off, Varsity Blues. Varsity Blues, the first of the back-to-back. Billy Bob, Tweeter. What the fuck? How did Varsity Blues not get taken? You took the shittier high school football movie before you took Varsity Blues. It's much shittier. The show Friday Night Lights was 10 times better than the fucking movie.
I mean, Paul Walker's in Varsity Blues, so I guess you got a little something going for you.
That's right, man. That's right. He's the number 1 quarterback heading to Florida State till he tears his knee up. Unfortunately, happens to Fizzle's Florida State team all the time. And then for the second pick, man, I can't believe nobody took this one. Give me Joe Falco. Shane Falco. Shane Falco.
I thought I could.
Give me the replacements. You ain't getting the replacements, man. There's so many good lines in that movie. There's so many good, from the fucking kicker just smoking on the field to the sumo wrestler eating the eggs and then vomiting it all over the place. when they flip Shane Falco's car over, and then they come out with their fucking guns, and they're like, flip that thing over, wax that motherfucker while you're at it. The replacements. I can't believe none of y'all took the replacements. What are we doing?
I was hoping it could come back for me in the third round. Maybe I reached on Friday Night Lights a little bit looking back, and I even Coach McGinty, dude, like, yeah, that movie is a fucking classic. So good call on you there, Mike. I think you got some really good value there in the second and third round. The second round, recapping it again, I go draft day, the 201. Eric, Waterboy, Kyle, Invincible, and then Mike, Varsity Blues. Mike just goes with the replacements there. Kyle, you're back up here in the third round. You get sniped with the replacements like I just did.
Yeah, I kind of did. So I'm going with a movie I genuinely love. It's probably the football movie I watch the most, and it's very high in a lot of people's hearts. I am taking Rudy, okay? It's a good movie. It's good. My sister's dog is named Rudy. I have to take Rudy, okay?
After the movie?
I guess. After the guy.
Yeah, okay, but wasn't Rudy not even real, though? Wasn't there, like, a lot of things that might not...
He's real.
I think there's a little...
There have been guys named Rudy, can confirm.
But there's a little bit of story stretch in there. I heard they didn't actually pick him up and, like, carry him off the field like that, and so I don't know. That's supposed
I heard he wasn't actually Sean Astin either.
Well, all right.
Was Vince Vaughn actually there? Was he actually on the team too?
Vince Vaughn's a tall motherfucker, so I don't know what position did he play in that movie.
I think he was a running back in that.
Yeah, movie. He's definitely not a fucking running back. He's definitely
he doesn't have a lot of scenes in there. There's just the one where he's standing out in the parking lot, like next to a car for sure. And I'm like, fuck, that's Vince Vaughn. It's so weird when you see older movies like that. You identify actors who went on to have big careers. And you're like, holy shit, that guy's in here.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. All right, Kyle. Rudy, we'll round out your playlist there. Eric, what do you have for us here at the 303?
I'm going to keep the theme of stretching the truth alive. I'm going to go with the longest yard, The Blind Side, a heartwarming tale that you can pretend to love and adopt a player and send him to your alma mater to boost their football program. The Sandra Bullock classic.
And then take all his money, right?
Yeah.
I will say,
capitalize on his story.
I will say Tim McGraw, fucking hell of an actor. You think he's only a little bit of red rag top and where the green grass grows, but holy fuck, Tim McGraw does put on a performance there. That's dangerous, though. We're going to put this out on socials after, and I'm sure Eric's going to get buried for his list. I mean, The Blind Side, really?
My list is categorically trash, but I'm doing it ironically.
Yeah, that's all right.
Now I'm safe from social media.
That's all right. I'll round us out here. I'm going to go with kind of another like sad feel-good movie. We Are Marshall. This is about the Marshall University football team after the plane crash and kind of the teams and the surviving players picking up the pieces of that program. Matthew McConaughey, Matthew Fox from Lost. That's all you got to say about this one, man. This is a really touching, heartwarming story. Doesn't get better than this. Football, I think so many times we see tragic things happen all the time around football teams. We saw it a couple years ago with DeMar Hamlin, and teams rally, man. Teams rally around that shit. So kind of cool to see that in We Are Marshall here. So holy shit. Other than getting sniped by the replacements, I think I just did it up here. I just think I did it up. I think Mike might have the best drafting from the one slot. But I really like the what I have here. Kyle, looking at everyone's team here, do you have any instant reaction to who you think won or lost this draft? Love to hear from the chat as well. Fizzle Doll is saying, I've been waiting on Marshall to go. Yeah, I took it. Love little Marshall there. Kyle, your thoughts on the draft as we close out here tonight, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that Eric had the worst, and I had the best.
I'm 2 feet in, heading into a rebuild immediately off this draft.
Fizzledoll is saying, I'm so proud of you boys for not taking Sean Payton's movie. I would have logged out.
Oh my God.
Have you seen that movie? I don't even know if I can watch it because like Kevin James playing Sean Payton just doesn't feel right in my opinion.
It's worse than the Kurt Warner movie, which is also god awful and trash. Absolutely
But
horrendous.
according to some lists, a top 7 football movie of all
Get the
time.
hell out of here. I saw Radio up there too, by the way. Radio was at the top of one of those lists. Like, what? Radio? Don't they play basketball for half that movie?
Sports movie.
Mr. Scamper saying Little Giants is the biggest snub.
He's not lying. I mean, we had a UDFA pick, somebody who should have went undrafted in Rudy, and we couldn't get the Little Giants in, for Christ's sakes. The Icebox. Come on.
Little Giants is a fucking banger. That's when I need to go back and watch as well. So I'm with you there, Kyle. Any other ones that you think we missed that you're like, damn, that probably should have been fucking shouted out? No Longest Yard, I guess. But I think but besides that and like the Paterno movie you could put up there, like I think we did pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, Rudy's better than Little Giants. All right, let's not.
Rudy basically is Little Giants, just shittier.
Okay.
We did put The Express up there, and it's one of the few on the list where I was like, oh man, they got that ranked pretty high. The Express, the Ernie Davis story is a good movie. You should watch that one. You should check that one out.
Ernie Davis is a fucking legend, so definitely need to add that one there as well. Yeah, fuck yeah. Eric, any discrepancies you have with the list? Because I think we did pretty well.
I feel shame for going to the callback to my Adam Sandler 90s movies love a little bit earlier than I clearly needed to for The Waterboy. But yeah, generally speaking, right, like it even the bad ones, like we love football so much that a bad football movie is still kind of okay, right?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Well, boys, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate everyone's time here, hanging out with us in the chat as well. A lot of fun. Mike, thanks for all your insight tonight, brother. How can we best support you and the South Harmon gang as the fantasy football season approaches?
Everyone's required to show up at the shit house at the expo. Just kidding. That's a good way to support, though. It's a good way to hang out with us. Just go check out the YouTube South Harmon FF. I mean, we're doing a lot of good shit over there. We got some pretty exciting announcements coming here in the next couple of weeks, so no spoilers, but it'll be kind of game changing for us, and that's saying something because Seth, at the expo last year, I thought the Warp Tool was kind of game changing for us. A little bit different, right? Not going to change your dynasty teams, but I'm pretty excited to get that announcement out there. So, couple weeks. Okay. I'll hold my fucking tongue until then.
Okay. So no big J journalism happening here on the IBT podcast, but no scooping. But we appreciate you nonetheless, Mike. Make sure you guys are opening up a new tab on YouTube. Go over to South Harmon Fantasy Football and check out all the great content. You guys are putting in work this summer, Mike.
I appreciate it, man. We hired a video editor, Brian. Shout out to him. He makes me look beautiful every single week and not like an idiot. It's so much easier when he can edit out all my mispronunciations. I called fucking Shane Falco Joe Falco tonight, so Brian would have taken care of that for me. I'm relying on him too much.
Kyle, that's your job in the audio, buddy. You understand that, so we appreciate you as always. Kyle, don't get too hammed up at some of these Pirate games. I know you got like 4 Met games this weekend, Cardinals tomorrow night, so keep your head on a swivel down there on the North Shore, buddy.
Hey, man, it's Dollar Dog Night tomorrow. There's no promises.
Oh, all right. All right, anything can happen. Eric, thanks for everything you have going on, man. When's Pros and Joe's happening? What's going on there? Can I have a Joe that likes me and doesn't ghost me this year? Can I still be a pro? I'll also be a Joe and play with like Mike, or I'll play with anyone at this point. I just want to take the title home for once.
You are welcome to be a pro in terms of your interactions with your co-manager. Be the change that you want to see in the world, my friend. And I think it will go better for you.
Yeah.
And we're ramping up pretty quickly out there, putting our roster together, hoping to get some members of the South Harmon family as part of our pros this year. And shortly thereafter, I think once we get about 2 or 3 leagues filled, we're going to open up registration and start getting people in the system and doing some fundraising as we head into like expo time.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame my guy for ghosting me last year because I did ask him I did draft Cam Akers in like the 5th round. So that's on me. That's on me. Sometimes you take some fucking misses when you're taking a lot of swings over here. Nonetheless, guys, the easiest way to support me and IBT as a whole, subscribe to the channel if you're new. tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell your cousins that you don't see that often. All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Enjoy the college football season. Enjoy the July 4th holiday. Until then, y'all know what to do. Keep it in between. Thank you.